Thank you for joining us for Fandom Fridays. This week we'll be covering One Piece. My name is Sarah and I'm from Tom's River, and today I'm joined by...
My name's Vince and I'm the teen librarian for the Manchester branch.
And I am Chris at the Island Heights branch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, anime fans, for joining us here today. We just wanted to start off with our first question. What got all of you into One Piece? Vince, you were saying that you've been watching One Piece since when you were a kid?
Yes, I'm the baby of my family. I have an older brother and a middle sister. So being the younger sibling, it was very hard for me to hang out with my siblings when they were with their friends. It was like very rare for me to do that because, of course, they wanted their time with their friends. But one of my brother's friends was a huge, huge anime nerd. And I don't mean nerd in the derogatory sense. I mean that with the term of affection. He was very much into anime. This was when dial-up internet connection was a thing. So he downloaded everything and had it on his laptop. And whenever he visited my brother, they would hang out and everything. And then they would sit and watch anime together. And one of the times I was lucky enough to like hang around and my brother like let me hang out with him and his friend. And all three of us were in front of the TV screen and he showed us the first 2 episodes of One Piece. And I was a kid. I didn't even know what I was watching. I was still trying to follow the subtitles because we saw it in the original Japanese. And I just remember how wacky it was and how much fun I had just being with my brother and his friend.
That sounds like a really sweet memory. And yes, nerds, not derogatory. We love it. Yeah. And Chris, what about you?
I am new to the One Piece fandom, which is a little ridiculous because it's anime and pirates. But I had watched Sailor Moon like when it was like early morning pre-Toonami. And then I was watching Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, and I was into those things and like the Adult Swim, all that anime. And my friend was getting Shonen Jump. So we would trade back and forth. I had Shoujo Beat, and I was like, One Piece is too far into the series already for me to like get into it back in middle school. So I just skipped over One Piece through Shonen Jump, read the rest of the stuff. It was 500 episodes in, and my friends were like, you love both of these things. You should watch it. And I was like, no, that's like way too much commitment. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And then the pandemic happened. And I was like, this is the time to watch One Piece, and then proceeded to not do it. And then they're like, oh, here's an 8-episode live action. I was like, 8 episodes is manageable. I can do 8 episodes to see if I like this, despite knowing like most live action adaptations are not good. But there's enough people that are like, it's good. It's acceptable. I was like, all right, that works. Then instead of watching the live action, I watched the first 60 episodes to then watch the live action. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm like, yeah, everyone's right. I definitely should have been watching this for years. And now I'm on episode 82 and playing catch up.
Well, welcome aboard. Absolutely. I feel like I fall probably in the middle of you two. I wasn't really a big anime fan growing up. And I was in college and I watched Full Metal Alchemist. I was like, wow, this show's like really incredible. And I asked my friend who's into anime, I was like, do you have any suggestions? And she's like, oh, I really like this one that I've been watching lately. This guy, and he's so funny. He like just loves to eat and eat and eat and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll give it a shot. She didn't tell me how many episodes it was. I had no concept. I just started watching, and then like I emerged like from my watch hole like 2-3 months later, and I was like, I'm all caught up, because at that point there already was 800 episodes or something like that. So, but I fell in love from like the first couple episodes. I just wasn't daunted, I guess, by that point because I was already in.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
So we're all fans of One Piece, but we all came from different places in it. And I know that it is definitely getting a resurgence because of the live action, which is so exciting. So I wanted to touch base with you all about what your feelings were on the live action.
I was nervous at first. There have been, in recent years, whenever they tried to adapt a video game or an anime into a television show or a movie, it almost always ends bad. I mean, look at the 2011 Avatar: The Last Airbender from M. Night Shyamalan. That was a disaster. That left a very bitter taste in my mouth. So I was always skeptical about Netflix adapting stuff, especially after Cowboy Bebop. But then you get one of those rare occurrences where they're faithful to the source material and they treat the story with respect and they cast extraordinarily well. It was a big surprise. I was one of the people who was not happy about it, but then it won me over. It changed my heart in a good way. I feel like that's really hard to do in today's.
Yeah, I like I said, I was coming in with like that's a manageable chunk of 8 episodes. So I didn't have any skin in the game. I'm like, I have less emotional attachment to these characters. This will probably go better because I watched the Yu Yu Hakusho live action, which I was like, I need someone that knows me to watch it before I can watch that one because that is like my anime. Like I keep rereading it, I keep rewatching it, and I was like, okay,
we need to talk more. Like, definitely.
So I was like, they were okay. They made choices. I don't know what they were planning on doing with the Yu Yu Hakusho one, so I'm like, all right, that one wasn't terrible. I got no skin in this game, so I went for it, and it's like definitely you could tell the care and the love of like they captured like all the best parts of all the characters and like elevated that and like showcased like this is why people like this character of like their best qualities, and the costume design and that was incredible. My girlfriend has seen 4 episodes of One Piece because she just walks past while I'm watching it. Walked past and went, "Is this live action of that show you've been watching?" And I was like, "Yes, that is correct." And she's like, and she right away was like, "The costumes are incredible." I was like, "Yeah, they're so good." And like the detailing on them, someone loved this enough to make sure like the details on the costumes were good. Even like little things where it's like you might not necessarily notice it, but the fact that they took the time to put that detailing of the weird pattern in the filigree, and I'm like, that is the exact weird pattern from the anime. Like, you know right away looking at characters who they are and like how well they did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the costume design. I would say one of the things that I love the most is that while not all of the things that the characters were wearing in the live action was featured in the anime, they pulled a lot of their inspiration from the manga panel cover pages as well to find other ideas for other outfits to put the characters in. Because obviously, when you're doing an anime character, I think Luffy wears his red shirt and cut off shorts for like the first 400 episodes or something. He doesn't get an outfit change. But in a live action show, obviously, you want somebody changing outfits a little bit more than that. So that's where they got their inspiration from for a lot of that. I loved the costumes. I loved the set design. I mean, it is so beloved to me. I would say that I had a lot of skin in the game, but I loved the casting, and I could tell that people put like their whole heart into it. So while it wasn't like exactly perfect how I'd envisioned my mind, it was so much more than I ever could have asked for. Because I remember the Full Metal Alchemist live action, like we're talking about all those bad ones, and so it was just like such a breath of fresh air that at least this is moving in such a good direction. And I'm so happy to just welcome new One Piece fans in. It's so exciting to see the community grow.
Yeah, we definitely are seeing that community. Like, I have 5th and 6th graders coming in desperate where I'm like constantly like putting the manga on hold for them, and they're like, "Let me tell you about it." I'm like, "Guys, let me remind you where I am compared to you guys." I'm like, "Whatever, it's all spoilers. Go for it." I'm like, at this point, like, I'm so far behind, it's fine.
It's true. There are so many spoilers, and we will try our best to avoid them today. I love One Piece so much because it's so full of happiness and hope and laughter, and that's probably the thing that I love the most about it is just spending all this time falling in love with these characters and their dynamic together. I mean, some of my favorite episodes are just when the crew was just hanging out, messing around, doing crew stuff, and not even progressing the main plot. I'm like, just give me 5 more episodes of that and I'm happy. So One Piece is full of laughs and it's full of laughter. So I just wanted to ask you guys if there's any particular moment in One Piece that you can think of, or a certain gimmick that you really love that makes you laugh aloud.
One thing that you really touched on is just how close the crew is. And I really love that about the anime and the manga, and how they conveyed that in the TV show, about kind of showing how these people a lot of them come from broken backgrounds, or they have some sort of tragedy in their backstory. When they join this crew, when they join the Straw Hats, they kind of find each other, and they become each other's family. And they bicker. Every family bickers and has arguments with each other. But I like when push comes to shove and they're in a fight, all that bickering kind of goes away and they're kind of stand up for each other and they fight with each other. I think one of the things I really love is how there are moments that make you teary-eyed. There are so many about people's past, and it makes you bawl your eyes out because it's just like, I can't believe this awful thing has happened to you. I really love that because that's happened for a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing is that Luffy, One Piece, all of that, it'll definitely make you laugh, and then it'll also definitely make you cry for sure. So, and I like that you're talking about the bickering. That immediately makes me think of Zoro and Sanji.
Yeah.
Always at each other's throats, always fighting. This might be a spoiler. That does not change. But I like that because that deep down, like you said, when it comes to it, they stand by each other's side. They fight to defend their captain. They're all in for it. So I love that, and that's definitely one of my favorite crew gimmicks. And another one that I really love is just Nami and Usopp's relationship, because they're not super overpowered and freakishly strong right off the bat. So they're like, oh my gosh, like look at these crazy strong people that are on the crew with us, and they're just trying to get by the best they can. And I love how they stick together.
I absolutely love Zoro and Sanji just constantly like trying to one up each other, and I'm like, go for it, guys. Like whatever ridiculous thing you're competing against, I am here for it. Always like ridiculous, and it reminds me of Gimli and Legolas in Lord of the Rings, of like just like constantly, I'm like, you're besties, no matter what. But you're besties because you're competing. So I love that, and like I love Nami just being, this is what's happening. Sure. And like constantly like trying to like wrangle, and I'm like, oh Nami, you got the one brain cell of this crew to try and get anything accomplished, and you're like, focus this way. We have a plan. Okay, the plan is in the garbage. Let's adjust to that.
Yeah, she needs a lot of help with that, unfortunately, and it doesn't. The crew gets no less crazy.
You brought up something really interesting about how especially Nami and Usopp, they're on this crew with these amazing fighters, and they have to get by, but there's also a moment where you realize that there are a lot of things that the crew does well, and if someone is bad at something, another person might be good at it. For example, like Nami might not be the best at fighting like Zoro and Sanji and Luffy, but she does know how to make a plan, and she does know how to navigate, because that's her thing. Without her, they'd be lost. They wouldn't get anywhere. I really love that about how you could be strong in different ways. Like you might not be the best physically strong, but like you have a trait, so you have a skill, and that makes you invaluable. That's a good thing to like keep in mind.
I love that everyone like has their strength of like, and it's not always physical. Like Nami's definitely got the brains and like navigating, and then Usopp's the only like is their sharpshooter. Like he is very good at what he does, and he doesn't need to be a great fighter in any other way, because like he has that skill set no one else has. What are they going to do? Not have a sharpshooter?
Yeah.
You see other people coming on board with those unique talents, and as the crew fills out, and I think that's the best part of Luffy as the main character is, I mean, besides his smile, I love his smile, but is that he's just such a great judge of character, though, too. When he invites people to the crew, he's doing it with purpose, and he stands by that person absolutely no matter what. And when there's a bad guy, he's never taken in by sometimes, but like not actually taken in by any gimmicks or anything like that.
He's like, Luffy's so supportive of like everyone's like different skill sets, of like just immediately being like, this is your skill, this is great, we need that, and then like supportive of other challenges and helping them. And like Usopp's tall tales, he's like, yeah, that's so cool. And we're like, Luffy, okay, you're just backing up your bro. Even knowing full well, like, yeah, that didn't actually happen, but you're gonna back him up and like hype, like be his hype man of like, yeah, he did that, it's great.
That Luffy is full of hype. And then, look, I did mention, the other thing I love to see though is, you were talking about like the other side of the coin. We're talking about all the happiness and joy. There's the sadness and the sad moments, and unfortunately, a lot of those backstories have so many spoilers in them. So I don't want to delve in too deep with them. But instead, maybe we could talk about like a favorite One Piece villain or fight, maybe like an earlier on one that really grabbed us or we thought was really well done. I will always love Luffy's fights, will always be my favorite, but there's definitely other fights that other crew members have great fights as well throughout the story. And everybody gets like their moment to shine. So Vince, do you have like a favorite villain or fight that you really love and want to talk about?
I think Arlong, what Arlong did to Nami was probably one of the most messed up things ever. And the way he tormented her and made her into his little slave, and she did everything he wanted to do, not because she wanted to, but just out of her love for her village, because she didn't want anyone else to get hurt, like her mom, what happened to her mom.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the absolutely most heartbreaking. That's my guaranteed cry. Like if you were watching One Piece and you haven't had a guaranteed cry by like Bellemere, I don't know what show you're watching.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say Arlong because like one, I'm not that far into it, but also like how are you going to top that? He kidnapped a child, put her to work, like had her chained up, promised to free her whole village, and then sold her out to the Marines. I was like, that is villain. Like, I feel like the other villains are like decaf, like light villains, where it's like, oh, we're a pirate, we do bad things. Like, I was like, oh no, Arlong is awful.
Sure, absolutely. Arlong is awful. I will say the show does manage somehow to still top all of that because there's just so many awful characters that it introduces. There's so many different varied ways of being awful. But let's see, an early on fight that I really love. You know what I really love, and it's not so much of a fight, but I really love that early on they introduce you to Mihawk, which is Zoro's end goal, and you meet him so early comparatively in the story. You're like, oh my gosh, and it gives you this idea, the sense of scale of the power level. Like, you know, we think right now in the story that Zoro and Sanji and Luffy are like so strong, but Mihawk rolls in and kind of gives us this idea of the sense of scale of how much stronger people in the world are going to be and the absolute huge gap that there is. So I really love that moment, and I love the promise that Zoro makes that he's never going to lose again, and just his absolute determination in that moment that sets him on the course for the rest of the show. It's such a defining moment that happens so early, and it's so integral to Zoro's story.
I agree with you about how we get to see how Zoro is just this small little drop in this huge ocean of fighters. That's why I think you, me, and Christine love this manga so much. It's because of the world building. I think Oda builds such an insanely big world, and it keeps adding layer upon layer upon layer. And I think later on you even find out how like Mihawk is even part of these warlords of the sea, and it's like he's not the only one out there. There's so many more. It's this crazy kind of shock to your system. Like, how are you gonna survive in this ocean as pirates if you can't even beat Mihawk? You know, you're gonna find people who are probably even more tougher than him, even more stronger than him. So I really like how you brought that up.
Yeah, showing that gap of like, yeah, they're doing great here in the East Blue, like where they've grown up, but the world is way bigger, and like everyone talking about how dangerous the Grand Line is. That shows just how unprepared this crew is to go to the Grand Line, and they do it anyway.
Yeah.
And like the world building, like Arlong, fantastic development. And I'm also like, tell me more about the fish people, because we have like they're not the only non-human characters running around. But like there's the whole like fish people like having rights to the seas, all of those elements that like get mentioned by Arlong, and I'm like, tell me more. Like, how did we get here? Like, are there like fish people colonies in the ocean under the water? Like, what is going on with that? Like, tell me more. I'm like, am I going to get more? I don't know. I've got 1,000 episodes to find out.
Chris, I guarantee you will definitely find out more. But to touch upon something I love, love, love about One Piece, like the ever-expanding universe and like a real-life universe, people who you see in one episode, they might show up again like 400 episodes later, and they were doing their own thing that whole time. Like, they were just sitting around. They were doing something. And that's always really interesting. And then in sense of like the fishmen and everything, it's introduced, I think, very early on that One Piece, while their characters are so much fun and so goofy and so lighthearted, and the message is fun, the world of One Piece is not a world that is not dark. It is. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of issues, and it's reflective of a lot of issues that we have in the real world. But the way that our main characters deal with it is, I think, like the ideal way that like you wish you could deal with it. Like you wish you could just be like, bad guy, gone. We can't, but Luffy can, and that's why we love Luffy.
Yeah. It's a dark world, and it's a really corrupt world too. Do you think that all of these people, like, you keep going to like Arlong's village, like that's happening, and the Navy is kind of complicit in it? They know what's going on there, and they don't do anything about it. And it really says something about the world when pirates have more morality than the Marines. Obviously, that doesn't represent all of the Marines out there. There are good Marines like Garp and everything. But these pirates are like demonized. They're being hunted by the world government, and not all of them are bloodthirsty as people make them out to be.
early on, like immediately deals with nepotism with I keep calling him Nepo, but it's Helmeto.
Helmetho.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just keep calling him Nepo. I'm like, Nepo baby. Okay. But like immediately addresses that of like, yeah, he's clearly just here because of his dad. But then like seeing his growth as he befriends, like him and Kobe become friends, and like Kobe's still around. Like him and Luffy are going to go on parallel journeys of Kobe being a good Marine while Luffy, his best friend that like saved him from pirates, is going to go become the king of the pirates. So like I am so here for like watching this parallel journey of like how they grow and how they evolve and like how they keep intersecting with each other and like checking up like where are we morally, like I don't know, compare and contrast as we bump into each other, and like the friendship of Helmeto and Kobe of like, oh, I actually have to work for a change. I can't just skate by on like my dad's reputation. Kobe's like, I'm going to be the best through hard work alone, and like seeing that character growth, because originally I was like, I hate this guy, he's annoying. And I was like, never mind. Okay, like you're growing, like you're putting in some work. I hope you and Kobe like grow together and get to be like the good Marines.
For sure. I think so many characters in One Piece that are originally introduced, you're like, who's this nobody that I don't care about? They're so annoying. And then like you learn their story and you learn more about them. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so many feelings for this person. I don't know how Oda, our story master, does it, but he always gets you to feel all the feelings for everybody the way he wants you to feel them.
You said you wanted us to talk about certain fights in the beginning that we really love. Since we're starting in the beginning, I really love the Dawn Creek fight between Luffy and him when they're on the Baradi, the floating restaurant. And there's just one moment. Obviously, there were badass fights before that moment, but what made this such a crazy anime in my mind is just there was a moment when Krieg surrounds himself with a blanket of spikes. And Luffy knows this. He sees this ahead of time, but Luffy doesn't care. And he punches his fist into the spike and he hurts him and he hurts his hand. But it's just, that's the most gutsy thing that you can do. And I can't believe they showed that because that's such a visceral.
It was so visceral, and they did cut that from they briefly feature him in the live action, but they did cut his fight, and I get it because it wasn't very it's not actually really so integral to the main plot of the story, but it is such a fun fight in that moment. When you said that, I knew what you were going to say, and I was like, yes, I love that moment because it shows a lot about Luffy's character, that he is an unstoppable force. And if I had to qualify like an unstoppable force, a movable object or something like that, Luffy is definitely that unstoppable force. He's going to keep chugging forward somehow, some way toward his goal. But speaking of that, I guess we were talking about Luffy's ability to fight and everything. So I wanted to talk about some of the cool, more fantasy aspects of the show. Enough fishmen, but the other fantasy aspect of the show is definitely the devil fruit ability. That's like the main thing that drives the story, is like these devil fruits, and there's such fun, varied powers all over the place. So I wanted to ask you if there's any devil fruit ability that you've seen so far as to where you are in the story that you're like, I definitely do not want that one, or if there's one that you're like, I definitely do want that one. I would love to hear your opinions.
What about you, Christine? Do you have any ability?
Okay, so I used my librarian skills and researched the ones that I haven't seen yet as well. I was like, there's a deep fan wiki for One Piece. So I was like, all right, what is out there? Like, we've always seen so many. Because, like, going from what we've seen, I'm like, I don't like the Chop Chop one. Because people can take your parts, and I'm real territorial. I'm like, no. But, like, looking further in, I was like, there's a Mochi Mochi one. And I was just like, I looked at it and went, that sounds so lame. It reminded me of a Disney movie, Adventures of Food Boy, which I don't even know if anyone knows what it is. I just remember seeing commercials and being like, this sounds stupid. So I was like, I don't want a lame power.
Yeah.
I want something cool.
Yeah.
So that one I was like, no. I was like, oh, my power is going to be easily eaten. Or like there's too many downfalls into this. Also, it does not look cool. So I don't want that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so funny that you picked that one. I absolutely love that choice. I'm glad that you did some research and everything. That's so interesting. I would say for mine, that would be a big no, is I think you get introduced that there's definitely all these fruits, and you'll learn more about all the different breakdowns of the fruit powers and their different typings. But there's this one typing that's basically like turning into an animal, and there's a character coming up relatively soon for, I'm sure it'll be in the next season of the live action, where they have like a mole fruit power. And like when I saw her power, I was like, no, you couldn't pay me to eat it. I don't want to turn into a mole. No, I don't care how it would help me. And I can see how it, and it helped. It can help in a fight. It can, but I was like, there's some animals that I just never want to turn into. And how strong it would make me, I have to pass.
I think what's so funny about all the devil fruit trials, besides them being so awesome, is the way it takes away your ability to swim. This is a world of pirates, so you have to be on the water. So there are these people who willingly eat these fruits knowing they can't swim anymore, and they still go on the ocean, which I think is hilarious because it's just like, that's so reckless. If you don't have a crew with you and you're by yourself and you get put in the ocean, you're dead. So much about this is like guts, like being so gutsy and being so brave.
Absolutely.
I feel like there should be more pirates in life jackets and floaties of like.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, life jackets and floaties exist. There's a solution to the fact that you can't swim. Get some like water wings on these guys.
Especially Luffy, because that boy does not know how to stay out of the water.
And he's all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the worst offender. I'm like, put that. Like, he'll think they're cool looking. Like, he would be so hype. One of those flamingo like inner tube ones where he's like, look how cool this is.
So I will say, in the manga, especially like the cover panels, a lot of times Oda is drawing Luffy wearing some sort of floaty tube. I've seen him in floaties before. Oda does not think that Luffy is beyond that. Luffy would never be like, that's too kiddie. No, absolutely. He does canonically wear them. So those do happen. He just unfortunately doesn't wear them enough.
Yeah.
At least not in fight situations when we need him to be. So yeah. So Vince, did you have anything that you would never give up your ability to swim for?
Honestly, I love the powers. One power, I think I mentioned to you, one power that I did not want. There's like a syrup fruit in one of the movies. I think Oda said it in an interview, when he makes devil fruits, he tries to think of something that will fulfill someone's like innermost desire. So having an endless supply of syrup, having your being able to do it, I guess makes someone really happy, but it would not make me happy because I hate the texture of being sticky and not having water to wash it off and being sticky all the time. So definitely not that, but there are other abilities that I would love, and I really don't like, I would sacrifice my swim for. And I think Smoker, I love Smoker's ability so much. Not the smoking part, that's bad for your lungs, but being able to like have something not touch you would be really
absolutely. Those Logia types are bomb. So, any of those other characters we're going to meet later on that become like fire and ice and winds and gas and all of these cool things. So there's definitely some devil fruit powers out there that are so overpowered and just when you think you have, but still, what I think the coolest thing is that there'll be a fruit, like you'll say, Chris, like a mochi fruit, or like I said, a mole woman or something like that. And you'll think that it will be so underpowered because you're like, that's silly. And the villains or the heroes will take that ability and they will turn it into something so much more powerful through such intense creativity, just like Luffy does with his Gomu Gomu no Mi, That's always fun.
Yeah. I completely agree with you about how the villains will take the ability that seems super lame and make it super cool. Like you mentioned in the future that there'll be animals introduced, and you think this is such a goofy thing. This is so dumb. You can't do anything with it. And then the way the villains make their spin of it, it's actually terrifying. And it's like, oh my God, I hope never to run into this animal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think we're thinking of the same one.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking about, sir.
Yeah.
I know you and I can't wait until Christine catches up.
I'll get there. Possibly a year from now, but I will get there. I'm looking forward to meeting whoever has the Ito no Mi, which is the ability to manipulate strings. I saw that and I was like, that is the power I want. I'm like, you can just like, very much like, oh, if you know how to use it, you can do cool things. Like I knit, I crochet, I spin yarn, I weave. Like I am very much like a fiber artist person. So I'm like, I could do so many cool things with that. Of like, it might sound lame, but like I know where I can go with that. I can't wait to meet this character because they're going to end up being like, I love them because they have the power I want.
I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yes. Yeah,
I think they'll fit your personality really well, your colorful personality. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh. I'm assuming they have fun colored hair too.
I think what also I think we all love about One Piece is that I feel like Oda, when he's writing, it's obviously pirates, the ocean fighting. I feel like he gets genres and he throws them in to make a melting pot of a story. So like you'll get sci-fi elements in it, and then you'll get horror elements. It's like he's making a gigantic pot of soup, and every arc there's like a different kind of genre mixed in. By the end, I'm like, do you even, when One Piece, God forbid, I never wanted to end. I know we never wanted to end, but if Oda ever finishes it, what else is there for you to make? Because you literally covered every genre in your manga.
Yeah, I think Oda has an amazing capacity and like a boundless creativity that you just see oozing out of the pages. And I don't know if you know this, but he originally wrote One Piece. He started writing when he was 19. It was serialized very shortly after. Oda himself is only 49 years old, and considering how long One Piece has been going on for, that's pretty young. It's been his entire career, but you would worry and you would think for a lot of different, I think we're all big manga and anime fans here, you worry that writers are going to run out of steam or get really depressed or burn out. And Oda, there's something about his love for this story that comes out on every single page, on every single panel that he draws. And I think that's what really draws in so many viewers to the story, that like, yes, it goes on forever, but it never gets tired or worn out.
Yeah, and like this has been his whole adult life of like,
yeah,
what do you even do after this? Where like it's so popular, where it's like the only thing that I can think of that's more popular is Dragon Ball Z, and like the creator just passed for that, so everyone's kind of like, I'm like, what do I do? Like I know there's more coming out, and that he wasn't the main writer for that anymore, but I was like, what do I do? Like Dragon Ball Z's been part of my life since I was a kid. What do I do with now that he's passed? And I'm like, well, One Piece clearly, but like also like, what is like he gonna do if he retires? Of like, well, now what? Like it's gonna leave a hole of like, well, I finished this thing that was his entire life's work. Where do you go? And do you have to go anywhere? Like, could you just finish it and be like, I created this insanely long masterpiece that people love. This was what I was here for. I'm gonna go do something that has nothing to do with do something like mundane. Like I love when people are like, I was a celebrity and now I'm doing like some normal, totally basic job of like,
Sure.
Had my fame, could I just be a dude?
Could he? Absolutely, yes. I mean, Oda is incredibly wealthy, so he could just be like, I'm done, and walk away. I do know that he did say in an interview, when they did ask him, what are you going to do when you're done with this? He said he wanted to do a mecha anime.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't sound like he's going to quit, even though maybe he should. Maybe his family misses him, but yeah, apparently that's what he said. He wants to do a mecha anime.
I think you mentioned before, he has an insane work ethic, Sarah. Like he holds himself to such a high standard. He rarely takes time off. He rarely takes hiatuses from his manga. That's some way a lot of artists do. But this is very much his magnum opus. You're right, Christine. So I don't know what he's gonna do after, but I'm just so happy we're alive to be part of this ride. Like, like you like hear about like all these things that have like I wasn't alive when Michael Jordan was alive. And you keep hearing people like raving about him and everything. And I'm like, I was not alive to see Michael Jordan play, but we were alive to see Oda make One Piece. That's nuts.
Absolutely. So like, come aboard. Please, 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 because we have a super old fan here, a medium old fan here, like a brand new fan here, and we all absolutely love One Piece. And if you haven't read it yet, it definitely is available here at the library. We have the manga, and also you can check out some of the first episodes are available for instant streaming on Hoopla. So, you know, if you don't have Netflix or Crunchyroll subscription, don't worry about it. We can get you started right here at the library with your library card.
Do they have volumes on Hoopla?
I think we have some of the volumes on Hoopla. I know I started adding it as well to Libby. There's also some manga on, there's some manga on Libby and Hoopla, and I know One Piece for sure is some of the volumes are on Libby, the beginning ones. So I started adding those along with some other great ones. So, but I won't plug other animes in here. So just check out One Piece first, and then you can check out the rest.
I'm also like very much, if you've watched any of it, you're a fan and you've watched it. Like, my friend got me one of those scratch off posters for like every anime you watch, and I'm like, I have watched one arc. I'm scratching off One Piece accounts. So like, don't feel like you have to like complete it in a certain time, or like if you didn't finish it, it doesn't count. It does. It's several anime at once. Like, it's so long, and also like you clearly will still be able to talk to other people that have watched or read it and have been involved way longer, because like I'm here with opinions in 82 episodes.
I think that's why we love it. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, and we love that you're here, Chris. We love it.
And I think the community, us included, and even the general One Piece community, I think they're so welcoming to new people because they love this world so much. They want everyone to share with it. So never feel like you're gonna get gate kept or anything. Like, there are a lot of One Piece fans who just love talking about One Piece. And if you're just getting into it, that's going to give them so much joy, because then they're going to be able to talk to you about it. So don't be intimidated. If you love One Piece, you'll love being part of the community. I think it's very welcome.
People get excited when they're like, did you get to this part? And they're just kind of like, can't wait till you get to my favorite part so we can talk about it.
Absolutely. So yes, come aboard and join along, because the Straw Hat Crew, the main one and the larger one, us being all of us fans, we're so ready for you to join us all as fans. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for listening. And we hope that you join us for some other Fandom Friday podcasts, and have a lovely weekend.